Hi, I'm James and welcome to the latest video in the British Officers Don't Duck series chronicling the creation of the rules. I'm testing the rules today for the armoured vehicles and I'm using the film Fury as the basis for the rules test. So I'm going to use the scenario from the film where the 4-strong American platoon is now being attacked by a Tiger. It's a nice simple scenario, should give me the results I want. So it's set up pretty much as the film. The only rules change that I've made is I've halved the ground scale just to make it fit on the small table I was testing on. Now the sharp-eyed among you will spot that the vehicles aren't actually American, they're actually British versions of the Sherman. They are only part painted as I'm building my forces as I'm writing the rules. So I have used the American statistics. The Sherman Firefly at the front is being used to represent Fury, which was a M4 A2 E876, which ironically wasn't used by the Americans. It's actually standing in for the A3 version. Fortunately I got down to Bovington a few times now, and I've actually been able to get around the tanks, actually have a look at them. And that has come in quite useful, particularly for Tiger 131, which I've actually done a video on how to convert the Zvezda model kit to. So if you're interested, there's a link above for that. So, scenario then, the American force has started on the road, the Tiger tank is to the woods to the left as you look at the picture. So, time to roll for activation tokens. For each platoon commander you get a 6-sided dice roll. This is quite a small game. I've given Tiger 131 its own commander and Fury as the American commander. So we have rolls of 6 and 5, so it's going to be quite an active first turn. Normally at this point you'd actually roll then for who has initiative, but it's automatically given to the German player for this turn. So the German player spends a command token on the Tiger and uses it to fire. You roll a 10-sided dice, add or subtract any modifier for the range, and each vehicle has its own figure for this in range bands, basically 2, 6, 12, 18, 24, 32 and 36 inches, halved for the game, and you need to hit a value based on the target's figure. So the Sherman has a defense of 6 in the open, and with a roll of 10 that hits. So we roll again now for the damage. 7. There is an add for the gun, and it has to try and exceed the figure of the target's armour. With a roll of 7 that easily exceeds the Sherman's side armour, so it's destroyed. Now at this point the American player tries to seize the initiative, spends a command point, and both players roll. With a roll of 5 for the German, 3 for the American, the German player has retained the initiative. So it uses up command tokens, but it can get you a quick reaction. So the German player decides to act again. Now with 1 command token down already, it has to roll higher than that. So putting the 2nd command token down, rolls and gets a 2, which is high enough to beat the 1. So they roll to hit again. This time we get a 0, so a 10 to hit, so even with the negative modifiers for the long range they're hitting, and a 1 for damage. Now that's not enough to exceed the side armour. So instead of being destroyed, the Sherman is given a morale token, and that slows up the unit down. It's basically trying to keep its head down, or it's taking minor damage. The American player decides he can't cope with this and tries to seize the initiative, so 2nd token's played. This time they achieve it. So the American player activates Fury. Now using that you can do 2 90-degree turns in a move, so he uses one and reverses at quarter speed towards the tree line, basically putting the front armour towards the German tank. The German player now tries to seize the initiative back, rolls a 2, beating the American player 1, so the German player now has initiative. Places a third command token down on the tiger, but rolls a 2, so fails to activate. Tries again, now needing a 4 or higher, because he's got 3 tokens down, achieves it, rolls a 2, which is a miss. So tries with the final command token, rolls enough to actually activate the unit, but again rolls a 2, so another miss. The American player now activates the first Sherman, which does exactly the same as Fury, and then tries to activate the second unit. Now the second unit, because it's got a pin marker, is treated as having 1 activation already, but the roll of 2 helps it. It now backs up to the tree. So we finished the first turn, into the second turn. Not many initiative tokens awarded this time round, and the German player wins the roll for initiative. So he uses the first activation token, 6 to hit and a 10 for damage. There's another Sherman gone. This is not looking good for the American player. Activates again, succeeds in the roll. Rolls to hit with a 6, another hit and a 10. That's another Sherman killed. Really looking unfortunate for the American player here. So Fury now activates because the German player's run out of command tokens. And fires a smoke marker. Now firing smoke is slightly different. When you fire smoke, unless the unit is designated as firing smoke, like most artillery is, you need to roll a 5 or a 6 to be able to place the smoke marker. So Fury's achieved that and fires the smoke marker to block off the line of sight to the tiger. In the next turn, initiative rolls are quite low this time, with the American player then winning the roll to act first. So first activation is used on Fury due to a lack of choice, and it's placed on Overwatch. So on Overwatch the vehicle can then attempt to react to any movement that appears in front of it without spending a further activation point. And the tiger moves through the smoke, coming into line of sight, and Fury tries to activate with just rolling against the normal ones, achieves it, rolls a 9 to hit and a 4 for damage, which is enough to hit the tiger but not take it out. So it now has a pin token placed on it. It tries to activate again and now has to exceed 2, fails, passes the initiative back to the allied player, who then fails to activate. So with the turn being over, we go into the next turn. Lower numbers of tokens, but Germany wins the initiative. Fails to activate, tries again, achieves it this time, and fires, only getting a 2, which misses the target. So Fury now activates, having 3 tokens to use. The first one is used to move it forward. Not the best tactic, I would have thought, but it's what it does in the film. Second one again to move forward, achieving the roll to move, and the third time again makes the roll to move forward, fires, but with a 1 fails to penetrate. But it has now upped the German pin marker to 2, so it's going to make it quite hard to action. Next turn, reasonable number of initiative markers, with the German player having the initiative. Now the German player decides now to try and reduce the activation tokens. You don't need to roll for this to activate, but you do need to roll to see how many pin tokens you remove, and a roll of 2 fails to remove any but doesn't lose the initiative. German player then has to fend off a challenge for initiative from the Americans, which fails. Uses the second activation to try and reduce the pin markers, and a roll of 3 does succeed this time. It reduces it by 1. Uses his third activation then to try and do something, achieves the roll, and moves forward to get into the American flank, forgetting that the American player still has command tokens left. So the American player moves forward, tries to activate again, and fails. That could be costly. Uses the next activation token to try and activate again, succeeds this time, and misses. That was rather a dismal shot. So into the next turn, very low number of command tokens, but German player has initiative and fails to action. That could be critical. The American player has to watch as they then activate again and move to present their front armour to the Americans. The American player can then move, and we get into the next turn. So, German's got plenty of tokens, but the American player has the initiative. Rolls to hit, achieves a hit and a kill. So we actually have the same result as the film. A bit more of a success for the German player at the start, but then it followed very closely to the film. I'm quite pleased with the way that's played out. I did make a couple of changes to the rules as I was playing. I started off and I was making it I'd made it too easy to hit, so I changed the to hit numbers and restarted the scenario. But end result, it's fast, it's playable, it's interactive. It still needs a few tweaks, no doubt, which I'll come to as I go through it, but I think that actually worked. I'm quite pleased with that. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. I really would love feedback on the rules. I will be building more and more scenarios and more rules to cover everything, but I think the basic structure is now in place. Please give me any feedback. I'll also put a link into some of the models that I've used in the game. If anybody does want to help me out, wants to purchase them through the link, Amazon then at no cost to you gives me a slight reward, and I can use that towards buying more models to put the game together. Hopefully I'll see you soon for the next video.